Hi, my name is Christy Wallace, and this is my presentation. It's my health disparities presentation and it's about the African American community. And the topic that I chose to highlight was disparities within African American community within education, and especially high school education and higher education. So my introduction. Discrimination, poverty, and poor nutrition and exercise have resulted in a lot of serious health issues for African Americans, and the poverty rate within African American communities are a lot higher, as well as other minority communities such as Indian, Alaska Natives, and Hispanics. The poverty level within the African American community affects mental health status. There's a lot of African Americans that are within poor living situations that have poor mental health statuses. And also within the African American community, it is a market driven and stimulated by unemployment, poverty, despair, alienation, depression, hopelessness, and dependency. And that can lead to a lot of different things, as well as like addiction, not going to school, not showing up for anything. That can lead to a lot of those things. So some background, in 2018, it was reported that high school students in high poverty areas held less college prep courses. Schools within high poverty areas were less likely to offer math and science courses that most public universities, four-year universities would accept. And the racial composition of of one of the highest poverty schools were 80%, and most of those were African American and Hispanic students. And in 2018, nearly 1/3 of Black students lived within poverty. That was 32%, compared to 10% of white students living in poverty, which is like a big gap. And also the percentage of African American students who lived in households where their highest level of education by either parent was 27%. This can be very detrimental to somebody that is living within the African American community and living in poverty, because if you don't have any role models, or you don't have anybody to show you within your household or within your community what going to college is, and what having a bachelor's degree or higher, other education degrees could do for you, then they wouldn't know. They would just think it's something that you can get, or they could think that it's a waste of time, and that's not the case. But because they haven't had anybody to show them anything different, then that's just something that they're going to believe with it, that they're going to believe in. And with schools in lower income neighborhoods, with them not offering like college prep courses and science courses that you would need to get in college, it's kind of setting them up for failure, because it's like they're kind of stopped before they could even get into the door, because they aren't offered those courses and they don't know anything about SAT prep or anything like that. And then it will be hard for them to go to college and go to other higher education places such as community college, trade school, technical school, those things of that nature. So I feel like the problem is that within the African American community, most students that live in poverty areas don't have good programs within their schools to set them up to go to college. Because if you don't have good programs to set you up, or college prep, or things of that nature, it's just something that you wouldn't know about, or it's just something that you just would be foreign to. And that's just not something that would be beneficial to the students. And because there is poor access to college prep classes, in college prep classes, and things that you would need to get into most for your universities, that could set them up to not be able to get into the schools. And when you're constantly getting decline letters from schools, it can be very discouraging. So yeah. And the fact that most African households don't have parents, as well as African American communities don't have people that have higher education, it is harder for more students within those areas or within those communities to want to go to college, because they think that, oh, if my aunt doesn't have it, or my mom doesn't have it, or whoever doesn't have it, then I shouldn't have to get it. But that it shouldn't be the case. But you grow up around certain things, and that's just what you're accustomed to. So my analysis is that in some low poverty schools, there's lower rates of African American students doing graduating and doing those college prep things, and in lower income schools, college education is something that isn't focused on, and there is a lack of resources that are available to those students. So some disparities is that Black students living in poverty, 64% have parents whose education is, their most education level is high school. 45% of those people live in mother-only households, and 35% of them live in father-only households. And in the school year of 2017 and 2018, the national adolescent graduation rate for public high school students were 85%, but for Black students, it was 79% lower than the US average, which is not great. So some recommendations I feel like would be beneficial would be to, like I had mentioned earlier, would be to offer college prep courses within low poverty schools, as well as, schools could come out, like I feel like more colleges and higher education schools should come out to these schools and, present their schools, show them all the programs that they offer, the majors that they offer, just get them more, excited to go to college, excited to learn, excited to, be in that environment. And so something that is important is that disparities prevented within African American communities, because it's important that most African American students have access to higher education, and they have access to these things that can get them there, and that graduation rates could go up within African American communities, because it is not, everybody should at least be able to get your degree or have access to be able to get your degree. And then with information of better education programs and more college prepping classes and tutoring, it can set students up to have a better chance to go off to, do things that they want to do in the future, whether that is culinary school, training school, beauty school, just something that can set them up for something that they would want in the future. Some new knowledge that I gained was based on this information. I know how to address health disparities and analyze how they can affect us. This information has also opened my eyes up to see that not only are African American communities being affected by these disparities within America, it's a lot of different other minority groups, and that we just need to do better. And with health, education, just and a lot of different things in order to help out with minority groups in African American communities. These are my resources, and this is the end. And I just want to say thank you and have a great night.